It's 7 PM on Monday, March 16th, 2026, and I call this regular City Council meeting to order. Councilmember Hall, will you lead us in the flag salute?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Note for the record that all council members are present this evening. And for staff, we have Planning Manager Stallnecker, Finance Manager Robeck, and Police Chief Fernandez. Next item on the agenda is citizen participation. Do we have the sign-up sheet? Thank you. All right, we have Bill Myers. Welcome, sir.
I'd like to talk about the Easy Fiber installation on our street. Back last year, a salesperson told us that we would never know that they were there. That'll never be. During the installation of the cable conduit in front of the house, instead of going under the sidewalk, tunneling like they were, they decided for some reason, I do not know why, they had to dig a trench in my front yard. After digging the trench, they then installed a utility vault, 15 by 22 approximately, 5.5 feet from the driveway, 11 inches from the sidewalk, in my front yard. My front yard slopes towards the sidewalk. The utility box is level. It sticks out like a sore thumb. Now, according to the paperwork in the franchise agreement, it said we should have notice of work 24 hours prior to entering private property or streets, public easements adjacent to or on such private property. Notice shall be physically posted upon the affected property by franchisee. A door hanger is permissible. The franchisee shall make good faith effort to comply with the property owner's residence preferences, if any, on location of placement of underground installations, of course excluding aerial lines, and utilizing existing poles and existing cable paths. That was not done. I was home, they knew I was there, they dug the trench, they backfilled it. When they backfilled it, they just threw the dirt back in, put in 5/8 minus, which is not something you grow grass in, and then put the grass clumps back on, very sloppily, uneven and unprofessional. The placement of the vault was never discussed with me, not once. That is unsatisfactory. 5/8 minus, if you're not aware, is basically a rock product that is screened through a 5/8 inch screen, and it has fines in it. There's no nutrients, there's no soil, there's nothing in it. It's a compactable material that is excellent for driveways, sidewalks, foundations of walls, so on and so forth. But it's not good for growing grass. You can't grow grass in it. You can grow weeds through it in my front yard now, unsatisfactory. The people that did this was the subcontract, Horizontal Technologies. Easy Fiber is the contractor doing the work, and they had a subcontractor doing it. That's not permissible. The oversight should have been there to keep them from doing that. Also, I contacted Public Works, and somebody did come out and talk to me Thursday, and we talked about the entire project. And so he said, okay, well, I can have them sprinkle some more topsoil down and put grass seed down. The problem is they didn't do the job right in the first place. They're putting a Band-Aid on an arterial wound. They could have put that box in a number of places. They tore up my sidewalk right where the cable went through it. They could have put the box there. They could have put the box to the north side where the wall was that goes down the street. They didn't do that. Also, when they did dig the hole at the north side by the wall, I know I'm going over, I'll finish up quickly. They ended up damaging some perforated pipe. It's a drain behind the rock wall that goes up the street. They didn't fix that. I know that for a fact. They just covered it up. Their work is unsatisfactory, and the city needs to have better oversight.
Thank you, sir. If you could get your contact information to me before the end of the meeting, I'll follow up with you
Okay.
afterwards.
All right.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who didn't get to sign up on the sheet that would like to speak today? Mr. Boyle.
Thank you, Mayor, Council, and staff for the opportunity to speak. Tom Boyle, 1109 9th Avenue in Milton. And thank you again for your continued service to the citizens of Milton. Sounds like I'm beating a dead horse here, but I came up to talk about Sleazy Fiber Network, our contractors. I got neighbors calling me about blocked roadways and properties without giving notice. You know, is fire trucks going to be able to get in and through out of there? No notices to people. And then another concern is who will be inspecting their finished work. And this gentleman was speaking of that, such as landscape restoration, traffic rated junction boxes in the right of way, sidewalk panel replacements, and paving. And then also, who's going to pay for our city resources to inspect these? I mean, was this figured into this contract with these people? Because before, everything went overhead and it didn't seem to be that much impactful to the citizens. And now with this going underground, it's going to tap our resources for inspections, going to complaints such as this gentleman had. I'm sure there's 100 other people that are complaining. It looks as if they're coming down my road. Brand new paved road 3 years ago. God bless the city of Milton. I'll tell you what, I will be there with before and after pictures, and this will return to better than when they started, when they're done. But like I said, I know I've been reading the previous minutes, and I know this isn't news to any of you. So I hope this is being taken seriously. My last thing, I got a minute left. I'm stepping down midterm as a planning commissioner. I said myself I had always finished my term, but I have to give up. The House bills coming down from Olympia are unagreeable to me. They're being forced on the city of Milton, which is affecting our decision-making for the vision of our city moving forward. Last page. And my vision of maintaining a safe, stable, close-knit community. I've been a distraction to my fellow commissioners during meetings with my rants, and after 15 years or so, my heart just isn't in it anymore. I can't continue to fight the good fight any longer. Thank you all, and God bless America.
Thank you, Mr. Boyle. I must say I'm sorry to hear you leaving the Planning Commission. Anyone else that didn't sign up like to speak? All right, seeing none, we'll move on to additions and deletions. Are there any requested additions or deletions to the agenda? Seeing none. Is there anyone else who would like a topic added to the agenda? Seeing none. We'll move on to the consent agenda. Does anyone want to pull an item off the consent agenda? All right, then I would entertain a motion.
Move to
Councilmember
approve
Wade.
Consent agenda.
Second.
All right. It's been moved by Councilmember Whalen and seconded by Councilmember Hall. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Okay, the first item on the regular agenda today is item 6 on page 27. It is a reappointment to the Civil Service Commission, and it will be for Kelly Talbot. Kelly Talbot has served on the Civil Service Commission since 2022. Kelly is an informed and contributing member to the Civil Service, and we are lucky to have her want to continue in her capacity for another term. I'm recommending Kelly Talbot for reappointment to the Civil Service Commission. Councilmember Whalen.
Make a motion to approve.
Second?
Move to approve Mayor White's reappointment of Kelly Talbot to civil service for a term to expire March 2030.
32.
Second.
Councilmember Whalen, would you like to speak to your,
Well, what can I say? I believe that what has been done on the civil service side is quiet and a little bit beyond. We don't hear a whole lot about it. But what we do hear is very positive. And she's been a part of that, and I think she's worthy of continuing to be a part of that.
thank you. Councilmember Roberts, would you like to speak to your second?
Sure. So Kelly has served for 4 prior years, and I think it's important that we have people that have experience in these positions. So I think it's a good move to have Kelly for another additional, what is that, 6 years? So yeah, I think it's a good idea.
All right. Any further discussion? All right. Is the applicant here? I don't see her. Okay. All right. It's been moved by Councilmember Whalen and seconded by Councilmember Roberts to approve my appointment of Kelly Talbot to the Civil Service for a term to expire March 2032. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is item 6B on page 31. And it is an appointment to the Planning Commission. Jackie Strader is a 33-year resident of the city of Milton who has a desire to participate in the land use issues that Milton is facing. Jackie has presented numerous comments relating to various land use issues over the years and now wants to become involved at the Planning Commission level. Jackie has attended a meeting and as required, and I recommend her for appointment to the Planning Commission to fill one of the 2 vacant positions. I'd entertain a motion. Yes, Councilmember Whalen.
I'd like to go directly to move to approve the mayor's appointment of Jackie Strader to the Planning Commission for a term to expire May 31st, 2031.
Councilmember Whalen, would you like to speak to your motion?
I've known Jackie Strader for, I don't know, 25 years or something. I don't remember when we first met, but I know her dedication to the accuracy of the councils and the city's position on a lot of issues have been enhanced by her participation in defining what she understands. She's been very dedicated to the city of Milton for quite a long time, and I think this is an appropriate determination to put her on the Planning Commission.
Thank you. Councilmember Mounts, would you like to speak to your second?
I just want to say thank you for your willingness to serve.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, it's been moved by Councilmember Whalen, seconded by Councilmember Mounts to approve my appointment of Jackie Strader to the Planning Commission for a term to expire May 31st, 2031. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. Oh, sorry, would you like to come up and tell us? Yeah, tell us about yourself.
All I can say is thank you. And I'm retired now, so good or bad for y'all, I can dig in even more. So thank you. And land use is one of my passions because I moved to Milton in '93 because when we pulled up to the house, it was like, we're gonna have a park as our yard. And we stopped looking and we were lucky to get it. And I have not regretted living here every day. I love Milton. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you so much for stepping up to volunteer. All right, the next item is item 6C, the Planning Commission Work Plan. And that is going to be Angeli Stallnecker is going to tell us about this item. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. So each year, we have brought the proposed work plan to the City Council. The Planning Commission's job is to do research and give recommendations on things related to land use, zoning, subdivision, and the wetland critical areas chapters. And so before you is the recommended work plan for the 2026 year. The items proposed are attached. The council, you are allowed to add or remove any of the items and set priorities if it's necessary, if you feel necessary. If you wish to add or subtract, it would be done by either consensus or by modifying the motion. Last year, the Planning Commission completed the following items. We did an update, so to the comprehensive plan and some related zoning amendments. We did a couple corrections to the zoning code table of uses. We did the critical areas update, which was required by the state. We added a unit lot subdivision code and co-living amendments. Again, those were new things that were allowed by the state, and so we passed our amendments to make sure that that reflected the process that we wanted for Milton. For 2026, we were basically just proposing carryover items that we didn't get to or finish from last year. One of the things last year was the landscaping to kind of update it, modified it. Within that is the protection of the significant tree code. The Planning Commission, after kind of reviewing it, we have pulled that section out and we're doing a standalone significant tree code section, which we are currently working on. So that's been just sort of added as its own line. We would like to, again, finish off the landscaping. We need to make sure that the parking standards, when we did the full update in 2024, some of the parking standards don't match that, so that needs to be updated this year. We last year started working on design standards, basically sort of using the existing uptown design standards to see if we would like to spread those to just across the city for commercial buildings, multifamily buildings. And then annually, the city considers once a year, you get to consider comp plan amendments, both if there was any private applications and anything that the city sees. Usually we update the 6-year capital facilities plan to make sure that that's current so that we're eligible for all the grants. And then usually there's some related zoning refinements. This does not prevent either the Planning Commission or the City Council from, if something comes up that we feel like needs to be added, that can be always added at a later date. But this gives us, both staff and the Planning Commission, a clear direction of where, I did forget to add, the last one was short-term rentals. It was on a lower priority last year with the council, but it did stay on. So again, this just gives Planning Commission and staff a clear direction of what we should be working on, and it lets the City Council kind of know what we're working on, that hopefully they have, know what's coming down later. Thank you.
All right, I entertain a motion. Councilmember Hall.
Move to approve the 2026 Planning Commission Work Plan.
Second.
It's been moved by Councilmember Hall and seconded by Councilmember Whalen. Councilmember Hall, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes. I'd like to thank the Planning Commission. This is very important to the city. Parking standards is high on my priority list, just because of the way people are parking, going the wrong way, parking, backing in, and using the right-of-way as a parking spot, car after car after car, especially up on Main. It's hard for a walker because you have to go around those cars.
I will clarify that it's parking on private property, not the street parking, but yes, it's still
Oh, it is, it is.
Yeah, it's for it's the private parking side, not the street parking side. So just to clarify that for you.
I thought we had that already, as far as how many you could have
So
per,
we have a parking code. It doesn't match up perfectly with the new table of uses. It's been a while, so we want to just sort of update. So mainly it would be for new development, making sure that it meshes with any new development, that it, again, that it matches the use table. And are those still the standard best numbers? So thank you for bringing that up so I could clarify that it's private property. Street parking is actually not a planning commission thing, so that's something that's under police and isn't a part of the code that doesn't need to go through the planning commission.
so we should have that already in code then.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that.
Councilmember Whalen, would you like to speak to your second?
No, I do not.
Okay. Councilmember Cedar.
Yeah, thanks for bringing this forward again and all the work you do regarding the parking standards. I recall some discussion when we were working on the comp plan about revisiting the kind of commercial area parking to essentially allow overlap parking in commercial uses. I'm not really using the correct phrase, I don't think, but would this be part of that, or is this solely for residential parking standards?
So the Uptown District already so the Uptown District has its own design guidelines and standards, and in those, it doesn't have a set numeric standard. It has sort of, because there's assumption that you've got these malls that are all sort of sharing parking, that they just have to demonstrate that there's adequate parking for what's going on. So it already kind of has that. One of the things that we did talk about with the Planning Commission, like I said, back in 2024, was maybe coming up with an alternative option where, have basic standards, make sure those are current, but also maybe have an option that says they could do a study, because not every business lines up perfectly. And if they can say, hey, we think you're, because of what we're building, we think you're asking for too many parking spots, they could maybe demonstrate that they don't need that many. Especially when you get into multifamily, there's a big difference between apartments that are 3-bedroom and things that are studios. And we just sort of like, everything's the same. So there was some flexibility that we had discussed, maybe building into that or giving some alternative options. But specifically for the Uptown along Meridian, it doesn't have set number. It has just sort of demonstrating that there's adequate parking.
So the thing that you were just talking about then, that demonstrated need to potentially get an exception to kind of the default number, is that what this is?
That would be part of it. So
Okay.
part of it is, if you look at our use table when we updated it, and then the parking has like uses, and this is how many parking spaces, they don't match. So there's we just ran out of time. So partially it's just matching that. Part of it's double checking that is there any new state laws? Is there new industry standards? We probably don't need parking for things that are businesses that no longer exist. So some of it's cleanup. Some of it's making sure it matches. And then, yes, some of it is looking at, maybe allowing some alternatives if they can demonstrate certain things. So.
Great, thank you.
Any further discussions? Yes, Councilmember Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted clarification on the significant tree code, just for my ignorance. I'm not really aware of what that is specifically.
So under our current code, under our current landscaping, there's a section that talks about significant trees, and we sort of define them by a certain size, their diameter at standard height. We're looking at, and that's kind of all it says, and that you have to sort of replace it. If you take a tree down this size, you have to replace it with this many. Well, one, obviously with some of the recent development, a lot of the trees that came down made people on the phone a lot with us. Two, the way it's written is it's very, it almost makes, you end up, if you have a property that has lots of trees and you're cutting down lots of trees, it may say you have to replant 87 trees. Well, they can't replant 186 trees. And so historically, it's sort of like you kind of, on one hand, you kind of lose some of that because you just reasonably can't, under a good landscaping model, do that. The flip side is if you have a property that has 0 trees, you don't have to do any replacement. So one of the things we're looking at is sort of, there's different cities have adopted newer versions where there's sort of credits where every new development needs to have so many trees. And so we're trying to look at that as across the board. We're looking at, part of it will be, and again, it's still sort of in the draft. Our hope is that, let's see, it's March, April, that it would come to council end of April, 1st of May is the goal. Another thing we're looking at is still having how do we prioritize, maybe not, the way that we're doing it is, even though we're saying you have to replace all these trees, there's not a lot of stopping them from taking all the trees. And so part of what we're looking at is having some things that will emphasize if there are some big trees, you have to keep so many and you get sort of rewarded if you're keeping the bigger trees. And then also looking at having the next, so, like I said, there's significant, there's also, some of the cities have what's either a heritage or an exceptional tree, which is something that's like over 30 diameter and that those would be even harder to get rid of. They would have a higher standard. So trying to figure out how to protect the bigger trees, require trees on properties that right now we really don't even require them as much, kind of balance that out. And then also part of what we're looking at is saying also that at the last Milton Days, my whole focus with the interaction was talking about tree canopy, urban tree forest, is putting in the wording that, and again, this will all come to council to approve, but our recommendation will be to then move forward with like an urban forestry plan. We have one that's sort of was adopted 10, 15 years ago that just sits, I found in a drawer kind of thing, is figuring out a way to not only just sort of require replacement, but protects what's here and hopefully expand our tree, because Milton has a great tree forest, but as they get bigger, people get nervous and they start cutting them down, and there's not a lot that makes them replace those. So looking at all of that picture of how to keep it and make it also equitable among all properties. And right now we don't do anything for single family, so maybe there's some things we do, like if you add on or, so yes, it's the overall picture is how do we protect what we have in a reasonable, very manageable way. So, very long answer.
Thorough response, I appreciate it.
Yep.
Yes, Councilmember Poor.
Thank you, Mayor. So I see on here landscaping. I just wanted to clarify, does roadside refuse and litter and stuff like that fall within this? Or could you speak on kind of clarifying?
Yeah, so landscaping, so again, the Planning Commission is looking at their responsibilities, 3 chapters. So one is the environment. So anything that is shorelines, critical areas, along creeks, along the lake, there are certain rules. Most of those are basically pretty tightly dictated by state and federal law to protect those things. So those are all there. And then it's also the subdivision, which is dividing a property. The other one is the zoning land use. And so that covers anything that is private development. So anything from private houses being built to, the Sherwin-Williams went in, those are what that zoning covers. So within that is the landscaping, the parking, the design standards. All of those are when a developer or a resident comes in and says, hey, I want to build this. These are the rules that they have to follow. So it's the parking lot landscaping. So like if you look at Sherwin-Williams, they had to put in certain trees around the perimeter. If they put in parking lots, there's so many trees and landscaping that they're required. And so again, ours is it's a good landscaping, but again, it's nice to every so often go through and sort of look at it. Again, there's a lot of stuff that like landscaping basically says, if you're a single family house, you're exempt from this. So when people put in single-family houses, there's really no requirements for landscaping. What I've done is say, hey, provide me one. So I figure at least if they provide me one, there's no like standards necessarily, but at least if they're thinking about it and they provide me, oh yeah, and we're gonna put in bushes here and stuff, then it's made them think about it, and we don't get to the end and there's just dirt and I have to say, well, you have to do something. So there's things like that we would like to, again, we don't want to burden per se, but we do want people to make sure that, some of it is screening, some of it is making sure that they have the vegetation, so the stormwater has places to go. So it's all dealing with private development, whether that's residential, commercial, industrial. But when somebody builds something new or expands, it's what are we requiring them to put in, whether that's trees, bushes, that kind of thing. And then the design is similar. That can be how are we screening garbage cans? How are we screening drive-throughs? Is there a certain requirement for entrances or where the buildings are placed? And that's a fine line too. Again, it's like you want some, but you don't want to be, I don't think we're dictating what everybody's house looks like. But there might be some things to make, if you have a certain trend that's just being thrown up, then maybe you alter that a little bit. Though our focus for design is more multifamily, commercial, industrial, just to make sure that there's quality stuff, because the residents of Milton are going to have that for hopefully decades, where a developer, some are really good and some are not, so.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Councilmember Whalen, did I see you had another question?
Yes, and thank you. I just, just a curious question. And I know this stuff has come up rather recently, but I think we've always had a bit of a standard for trees and so forth on residential properties, or what was desired by the city to incorporate. I've got a lot next to me, or a lot and a half, it depends upon how you judge that had 9 trees, I think it was. They're all gone. Nothing has been put in place to replace some degree of that type of vegetation in a residential environment. Why does that happen? Why is it not required to return some trees to the property? They may not be in the same place because the house may be where a tree stood or 4 trees stood, but they've all been removed and nothing has been put in place to replace that canopy that you generally would desire to be on a residential piece of property. How does that happen? Why did that happen? You know the parcel I'm speaking about. Why has that been stripped of everything? And nothing's been encouraged to be reincorporated in that residential neighborhood.
The way the current code reads, it says single-family properties are exempt from the landscaping and significant tree code. So there is no rules for single-family. And so that's one of the, like I said, there's a couple reasons that this became a topic that we really wanted, both staff and Planning Commission want to address, is it feels like just because you're putting a single family, you shouldn't be able to do that. And so that's why we're looking at changing the code and beefing up the code to say it applies across the city. So if you're building a single family home, or you're building a duplex, or you're putting in an ADU, we're going to look at it and say, we're going to make it, the recommendation is going to be that it applies to those. It does not right now have any code that applies to it the way it is written. So we're going to change that.
Is there anything in the code that requires some sort of tree vegetation on a single-family lot? Is
No.
there anything on a lot that now has 3 single-family homes on it, not individual parcels, but no trees? No replacement trees. Is that within our code?
The landscaping code exempts, basically says this section does not apply to single-family properties. So anything that's zoned single-family, unless they're building like a church, which is not single-family, is exempt. It specifically says single-family, this section does not apply to it. And that's one of the reasons, that's one of the recommendations, is we're going to change that and ask council to pass rules that would apply for that.
So this will come to the planning commission, although what's done today, you can't fix that because that was not in code and so forth. But something will come to the planning commission and they'd be requested to strongly consider that some vegetation, trees, are on single-family home, the single-family lot. Because I'm not even sure about my neighbor who built 3 houses on what used to be a single lot. I don't know if it's been divided into 4 lots. I don't know. I didn't think it had been. So if you take all the trees out on a large property where one family house stood and now put 3 houses.
Yeah, and like I said, that is something that we will start with the significant tree protection, and the recommendation, I believe, based on conversation at the Planning Commission, is that the recommendation will be that every lot will have a requirement for what they're saying, what we're looking at is like so many credits, like potentially it would be like 1 credit per 1,000 square feet. So if you had an 8,000 square foot lot, and I know I'm getting a little farther out from just the work plan, because this will come to a study session, like I said, either the end of April or the first or early May. But what they're looking at is it would be something like you have to have 1 tree credit, whether you have trees on your property or not, you have to have 1 tree credit for every 1,000 square feet. So if it's an 8,000 square feet lot, you would need 8 credits. 8 credit could be maybe you have a very large tree, and our thing says if you retain this very large tree, that's 5 credits, and then you only have to plant 3 smaller trees to get your 8 credits. Or if it's a lot that has nothing, then you're planting 8 small trees or 4 medium-sized trees to get those credits. That's what the Planning Commission. So they have identified this as an issue, and they're working really hard, and they want to make sure, on one hand, they want to get something in place because they feel like there's a gap, but they also want to make sure it's as, a decent enough that we're happy with it. So that's, like I said, I'm hoping by May, council will have it before them at the latest.
So between now and then, if somebody comes in and builds and so forth, nothing that the planning commission may incorporate in the future would be used by a builder today until that has actually come from the planning commission saying what they want.
Correct.
No, it just, and you get around the city and so forth, you can see that the elimination of some large trees in the city and so forth has taken up considerable. It's happening on the corner of Porter and Milton Way. It's happening on my block, and it's happening elsewhere. So I don't think you can do it rapidly enough to incorporate it in the very near future development, but you're looking at beyond that. You're looking at a time and date where something like this may be authorized by or I should say, discussed by the Planning Commission, and we would come to the council and we would justify that this would be a right thing to do, but that might be months and months or a year away.
We're hoping to, the hope is to have, the Planning Commission is planning on, the hope is to have them recommend their draft, their proposal at the April meeting. They're actually several of them have agreed to do sort of a subcommittee to work on that before that. If they make that recommendation at the April meeting, I believe then it would be on the study session in April for council. Council could adopt it by May, this significant tree portion.
Well, it is significant, and I'm pleased to understand now the time frame is a lot closer than what I normally understand can occur at the planning commission. It could be a year out before, but if we're talking about 4 months, 3 months, that's fairly significantly rapid. So thank you for understanding that.
Any additional discussion or questions? Councilmember Turnus.
I was just curious about the property that has been on Porter and Milton Way, the removal of all the trees there. I believe it is apartment complex that is going in there. And so are they exempt from having to put any trees back into that property?
No, they will be replanting trees.
And then also, you said the exemption for churches, so does that apply to the church that is on Milton Way, that they're building the school-church combination?
So the only thing that, so single-family properties that are building single families or duplexes don't, the landscaping and the snag trees don't apply. The church, yes, the church will be having, they have a significant landscaping plan, replanting of trees that they will be doing. They're not going to do that till the end because obviously they don't want to damage all of that, but they will have a pretty significant landscaping buffer all the way around the property. And I believe they just started work this week on, they have to improve the critical wetland area. So no, they have to, and yes, the apartments have to. So there is some, it's just, there's some things we obviously would like to do better, and there's also things we'd also like it to apply to residential. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Any further discussion? All right, this is an action item. Are there any comments from the public? Seeing none. It's been moved by Councilmember Hall and seconded by Councilmember Whalen to approve the 2026 Planning Commission work plan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. The next item on the agenda is on page 39, the Fireworks Enforcement Officer update, and it's going to be presented by Chief Hernandez.
Good evening, council and distinguished guests. I brought this before you at our last council meeting just to give you a brief summary for those of you that were not in attendance at the last meeting. The city passed an ordinance 213125 on December 1st, 2025 that gave the enforcement authority to the fire chief in regards to enforcing a ban on fireworks in the city of Milton. In discussions with the fire chief, he would rather designate the authority to the police chief. The ordinance is a housekeeping item that corrects the enforcement authority to the correct person, because currently we don't have the correct person designated as the enforcement authority. There is nothing else that is changing in the fireworks ordinance except this item. The item was previously presented to council in the March 9th study session. And again, a brief overview. Under Milton Municipal Code, Chapter 8.04, the city of Milton used to allow the sale and purchase and the use of consumer fireworks within city limits. An advisory vote was placed before the voters during November 4th, 2025 in the general elections. A yes vote meant the voter was in favor of prohibiting the sale and purchase of use of consumer fireworks within the city of Milton. The results from the advisory vote indicated that the majority of voters supported prohibiting the sale and possession and discharge of consumer fireworks within the city of Milton. The total combined vote between Pierce and King County equaled approximately 55.9% were in favor of banning fireworks in the city of Milton. So tonight, I bring this back to you to amend the ordinance that was passed December 1st and provide the correct enforcing authority, i.e. the police chief. So I'm looking for an action.
All right. Would anyone like to make a motion?
I move to approve ordinance, 2135-26 as presented.
Councilmember Poor, I will recognize you to make a motion.
Thank you. I move to approve ordinance 2135-26 as presented. Thank you, Mayor.
All right. It's been moved by Councilmember Poor and seconded by Councilmember Mounts. All right. Councilmember Poor, would you like to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Mayor. And thank you, Chief Hernandez. Appreciate your presentation at the study session. And absent of a better option and also having the benefit of hopefully freeing the fire department up a little bit more for any issues that might come up from the fireworks, I strongly support this.
Councilmember Mouse, would you like to speak to your second? No? Okay. Any discussion? Councilmember Whalen?
Thank you. Thank you for the motions and so forth. But my understanding, why don't they help us? Why? It doesn't mean you're going to have somebody out there all the time. It means they could be a adjacent benefit to us if they participated to agree if we can't get there. And the thing with fireworks is if you don't get there right away, you don't get any results from anybody going there. So it's the faster. Can they find the time to participate with us to do this? Because you're overworked in some cases. And that's been part of why the issue has always been a difficult one to, the cops are on the street a lot more arresting people than the fire department's out there putting a fire out. That's just the standards and so forth. So is there a way we can incorporate enforcement between the fire department and the police department so that our coverage is now expanded as opposed to collapsed?
We would have to approach them again, but the conversation that I had with the fire chief of East Pierce was that they were not interested in doing any kind of enforcement action. He also talked about limited resources and staffing, and this is not a role that they want to be in.
So we're happy with just saying, oh, okay, we'll do it all ourselves, but we've not been very successful with it in the past.
You can say things that I can't, Councilman.
Pardon?
You can say things that I can't.
Well, and I'm not shy about doing that. But the participation, I think, should be covered by more than just the police department, who's not a fire department, and the fire department, who is with fireworks and so forth, probably responded to more things that we respond to as far as fires or protecting the general public or neighborhoods and so forth. So it's just a little, I'm not happy with them walking away from a responsibility that we in the past had identified as them being a participant in doing it. They're just abandoning that. So that's my feeling. As it's stated here and so forth, I won't support this. I think they need to be a participant.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is an action item. Are there any comments from the public? Seeing none, it's been moved by Councilmember Poor and seconded by Councilmember Mounts to approve ordinance 2135-26 as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
Opposed?
Okay. Motion passes 6-1. All right, the last item on the agenda today is the misuse of the 911 service. Again, that's going to be presented by Police Chief Hernandez.
Good evening, council again, and guests. I'm bringing before you a new proposed ordinance / Milton Municipal Code. Over the years, we have from time to time had individuals that don't seem to respect the 911 dispatching services and at times will engage in harassing or menacing or rude behavior, not really having an emergency. And so it has come up again more frequently. And I think it might just be symptomatic of the lack of respect that's going on throughout our country. And we have the need to go ahead and strengthen our code so that we have the ability to handle individuals that don't respect the appropriate uses of 911. And so what I put before you tonight is a new code and a new ordinance. And of course, there is an exemption for people who in good faith really intend to request emergency services. So this is in no way, shape, form intended to discourage people who have a legitimate emergency, but it does give us a tool to be able to deal with individuals that have been warned to quit engaging in repetitive harassing or menacing behavior, tying up valuable emergency resources. So I'm asking for this tool for the police department so that we have the ability to deal with individuals that tie up our 911 services.
Thank you, Chief. Yes, I would accept the motion. Councilmember Turnus.
I move to approve ordinance 2136-26 as presented.
Second?
All right, it's been moved by Councilmember Turnus and seconded by Councilmember Hall. Councilmember Turnus, would you like to speak to your motion?
Yes, I think anything that helps have stronger consequences for something that can potentially be a life or death situation that they're interrupting, I think I strongly support.
Councilmember Hall, would you like to speak to your second?
I actually talked to one of your officers right after this happened, or when it was happening, and understand the full scope of it, and it totally makes sense that you can't call other precincts, other cities looking for a better answer. So, thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilmember Cedar.
Fully support this thing. It's great. Thanks for bringing it forth. I'm really curious about the mechanics of how it would work.
Well, someone would call, and what we're talking about typically if I'm going to describe the behaviors that we're trying to deter is individuals calling 911, screaming at the dispatcher, telling them to blankety blank themselves, and then when the dispatcher's trying to get their information, hang up on them. Call them again, scream and yell at them, say, what are you reporting? Are you reporting an emergency? And they're just engaging in harassing behavior with no real purpose. There's no emergency, but the fact that someone has to answer the phone every time they call encourages that behavior. And so the process would be is that dispatch would tell us, hey, this person has called again. We would either then go to where they're at, or we would call them and tell them that they need to quit engaging in this type of behavior unless they have a legitimate emergency, which usually is met with the same type of behavior back to us.
I guess what just strikes me, if it's a misdemeanor, there's no officer that observes the misconduct, right? Doesn't that create kind of
Well, it would be reported, or not reported, but forwarded to the prosecutor for review.
Yeah.
And again, it's one of
This
those.
is given the tool to,
Right.
yeah, I hear you.
To bring charges and we would warn them and say, hey, we're going to forward charges to the prosecutor of this behavior. And if you don't stop, you could be charged with a misdemeanor.
Well, and I appreciate the inclusion of the civil penalty as well. I think that's a good, hey, here's your ticket.
Right.
You got that in your mail anyway. So, yeah, good stuff. Thanks for bringing this forward, Chief.
Any further discussion? Councilmember Roberts.
So I know a few 911 operators personally, and this is an extremely stressful job, as I understand. So any inconvenience of people calling, just making crazy comments is added stress to them as well. So just from the dispatcher's perspective, this should hopefully alleviate some of those stresses. So thank you.
Any further discussion? Councilmember Poor.
I want to say thank you for bringing this forward to everybody's attention, and I definitely support it. As somebody who has accidentally called 911 before, I know that they have some better mechanics with not letting that happen accidentally as much. But anyway, I appreciate that you put in this kind of exception. Looks like it makes repeated calls. So if somebody accidentally calls or like you said, doesn't intend to call, the officer kind of has some discretion, or, dispatcher, on whether they're actually trying to abuse it or not. Can you speak a little bit to that kind of intent that you talked about, just for the public's kind of a benefit on what fail-safe you're talking about?
Well, again, we do have 911 calls that are people that don't have legitimate emergencies, and a lot of times it can be what we refer to as a technical term, a butt dial. Or we have children who like to play with the phone and don't realize that they're calling 911, or we sometimes have individuals that have 911 on their watches or cell phones, and they accidentally hit the wrong code too many times, and it thinks they're having a medical emergency, and it makes that false 911 call. That's not the type of individuals we're talking about. We're talking about abusive behavior, profane behavior, threatening behavior, where they're threatening the dispatchers part of the time, or they're threatening us, which is, we're used to that. But calling the 911 service is not the appropriate venue for venting your frustration or just making comments because you know that they will have to pick up the phone, and then they take it out on them for whatever reason that they're having a bad day.
Thank you very much.
Any further discussion? Councilmember Whalen?
And thank you for bringing this up. It's a severe waste of time for people just to complain. It's a severe waste of time with our police department to respond to people who just complain, and there's no benefit. So, in putting in publication like this and so forth, what can happen if somebody does do that is very justified. And it's a strength that you need, and or the fire department needs, if it's a fire somehow to be assured that the general public or anybody in the general public abuses this. And it needs to be very strict. And this is a start, if not complete, but a start to do that. So thank you.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, this is an action item. Are there any comments from the public? Seeing none, it's been moved by Councilmember Turnus and seconded by Councilmember Hall to approve ordinance 2136-26 as presented. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously. All right, moving on to council reports. Councilmember Hall, did I start with you last time? I think so.
I think so.
I'm going to move on to Councilmember Poor.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your patience earlier, too. Just was, I think it'd be helpful, because I know we've had a lot of crazy weather again, when we had the floods before. Just getting a little bit of a check-in with our planner at the next available opportunity would be helpful for us, just seeing if this is causing any additional issues, or, kind of what progress is on all that stuff I know he's already working on.
Councilmember Cedar.
No report, thank you.
Councilmember Mounts.
No report today.
Councilmember Turnus.
I just wanted to just state that I too have been noticing the easy fiber optic issues around the city of Milton, and I think it's definitely something that needs to be specifically addressed with their company head on, because I feel like it is an accident waiting to happen. Thank you.
Councilmember Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. So yesterday I was going for a nice brisk walk, and I ran into Councilmember Hall here, and we were going down the interurban trail, and I'm sure that Dustin and his team is aware of this, but there are many trees that are down, and there's many trees that will be coming down that will be falling on the pathway. Probably 3 or 4 large trees that are on the brink of falling down. So definitely a safety issue. So unfortunately, Dustin's not here today, but we get that information relayed to him.
Thank you. Councilmember Whalen.
Well, and thank you, and thanks for everybody taking a moment to think about this. They've done a lot of fiber optic installations within the city. That goes on every place. I don't know if you've seen it all or not. One of the problems that I believe I'm seeing is they're putting covers on it, just like you have on your water meter or on sewer lines. But they're all at different heights down the street. It's not a consistent, you might say, I've got one on the corner of the street I'm at that is probably 6 inches higher than a water meter connection. So you've got this pathway, a right-of-way. It's not street, but it's a right-of-way, and they're undulated. And it just is something that I think the city should, and I wish Dustin was here to discuss this. It's just to take a look at to see, because they all should be at the same elevation, just like the water meters are all at the same elevation down the street. So just something to look for in the future. The fiber optic. I don't know if anybody was on Meridian and Milton Way today, where they were putting the fiber optic in around the mobile gas station. That was not very well managed on the street side of it. They were good, doing good and so forth. But is there anybody that we have, somebody who goes out and looks at these things in process? Because sometimes they're only there for a day or two and then they disappear. It just, in some cases, is difficult for the public to adjust to these things when you cut one lane off on Meridian, where you can't generally make a right-hand turn from the lane you're supposed to get on Milton Way. It's not well managed. There should be somebody else out there that is in authority and can direct the traffic. They've, you might say, made some street transiting in different areas a little bit difficult. WTC does a good job, but they can do better. It's just an observation for going around the city. On 15th Avenue, across the street from the community park, the building that was there is gone. It took about 3 days to get the building out, clear the ground and so forth, and then now putting in materials. It's a crushed rock material that they're putting in. And it's made quite a different change in that area. So I think shortly we need to be mindful of what are we going to do once they've took the building out, put the gravel down, and where do we go from there? We're not going to, hopefully, leave that open without doing something within a few months. I don't know what the process is. I don't know what you hear from the park board or the planning commission or anything of what's going on there. But it's a good change. It's going to be very productive, but I'm just curious of a time frame of what's going to happen next.
I'll find out for you. Dustin Madden is on vacation until next week, Thursday.
Oh, good for him.
Is it next week? Yeah. No, this week, Thursday.
This week.
Yeah, he'll be back Thursday. So I'll find out from him and get back to you.
And just a little follow-up discussion and so forth. Has everybody been aware of the changes that took place in the 9/11 memorial in the community park? Have you stopped by and walked around it? I don't know. Take your time to do it. It's a nice change. And some of the hazards, and I knew all the hazards with the metallic signs and so forth, what was a concern for the city, has all been eliminated. And I think they've done a very good job. So if you do have to, if you haven't, and if you do have the time, just stop. It takes 10 minutes just to walk around that. A positive change.
All right, Councilmember Hall.
And that's all. Thank you.
So yes, I did go down to the trail after work on Friday, and it was flooding. A tree had slid off the hillside. At that point, I stopped and called 911, said, non-emergency, let them know. They were going to send the fire truck out, but this called back and they go, oh, don't wait. They're doing something else. And in the meanwhile, I walked farther up and another tree had completely covered the trail, went through the fence, turned around, went back down between Kent and quarter way and another one had slid off the hillside. So yes, I went Saturday, not much had changed. I understand, the city's busy and it's expensive to call city employees in. But yesterday, one tree disappeared. And then today I went down and not only were the trees gone, but they blew off the whole trail. So the city is amazing. I mean, to get that whole trail cleaned up in that amount of time in one day is amazing. So I really appreciate that. But yes, there are quite a few trees that are looking very, very unstable on those hillsides. And that one that did come down the hillside, there's one that's right on top of it, and I would bet that thing's going to come down. And it's right in front of the main porta potty there on the trail. Just look up the hillside, you'll see it. Another one is I've got comments about temporary signs going up along Milton Way. Easy is one of the ones, and their signs are even out of code. They're too big. So there was 4 in the street yesterday on 23rd. I picked them up because people were driving over them with the metal post in it. Put them in the garbage can by the skateboard park. There's a couple more coming down Milton going west between the coffee and the church there. So they just turn into trash. There's one up by Spuds. There's 2 up by Spuds too. They just, people take them down, they get thrown in the streets. I put them on the side thinking maybe they come pick them up and realize it shouldn't be there, but then you find them in the street again, so that's concerning. Another one problem is Easy again. Their right-of-ways, they've tore up the right-of-way with their big trucks. And so I'm moving out of the way of traffic. They're coming at me, or a car's coming at me, and I'm stepping in 3 inches of mud. So I think they've got to come back and clean up those right-of-ways too. And I know they're working on it, and it's something they'll probably have to do at a later date. But thank you for the city for taking care of the city over the weekend. Appreciate it.
Great. Now, moving on to director reports. Planning Manager Stolniker.
Yeah, so I can give a couple of responses. As the mayor said, Public Works Director Dustin Madden's on vacation this week. I can tell you that they have both Dustin and Val Buzanov and Ken, and they have met with Easy Fiber on multiple, they stop work ordered on all the projects at one point. I think there's still a stop work order on a few. They finally got it enough that they did talk to the higher ups, not just the subcontractors. Obviously, they're still having issues. I do know that we have fined them. I do know that we are continuing to work with them. So just letting you know that we are, that's the Public Works Department, but they are learning and they are talking to other cities to try to fine tune how we handle this. And they are continuing to work with them to hopefully resolve as many as them we can. But yes, it is unfortunate. Which I know Councilmember Hall knows this, but if you do see things like trees down, branches, things that might be dangerous in the streets, if it's during the, obviously you can always call 911, non-emergency. You can also call Public Works, the ops number, and Carlina will be happy to work on work orders so that the crew knows that those things are out there. Just to add to Councilmember Whalen had asked about the community building. I think Madden had said that the Parks Committee was going to have a recommendation, I think, coming.
I would imagine so. I just don't
Yeah.
know the time frame.
Yeah, so I think they're going to have a recommendation for what to do with that property. And then my one planning thing. So just our Jaden Ripley has been our permit technician for the last 2+ years. She has recently taken another job, so we do have a opening that we will, I think it closes at the end of the month. It's a great starting entry-level job, looking for people who have office skills. Government or contractor experience is a plus, but not guaranteed. So if there is anyone that you know in the area or in the community that might want that, it's a great, like I said, it's a great opportunity for someone, so. And they get to work for me.
Thank you. Finance Director Robeck. No comment. Okay. And Chief?
Good evening, council. Just wanted to give you an update. You will be seeing a new truck ordinance coming in the next couple of weeks. Because again, we found out that our code needed to be strengthened and defined what a truck was by gross axle weight. And so I've been working on that with our attorney to get that accomplished. And so you'll be seeing that in the next couple of weeks. And then I just wanted to pass along a good for you. We had a drug bust last year on a traffic stop. And the end result of this conclusion of the case, which was just finished about 2 weeks ago, the case included a Glock 22, $1,280 in cash, 602 fentanyl pills, 411 Xanax pills, 5 ounces of fentanyl powder, which was 174 grams, 28 grams of methamphetamine, 332 grams of marijuana, crack cocaine, and miscellaneous unknown pills. And in the end, this individual, and I want to make it clear that this was a person that was not struggling with addiction. This was a person who was a dealer in death and addiction to vulnerable people. And so, rightly so, this individual finally, it caught up with him. He was also a suspect in a murder in another jurisdiction. And our case combined with another case from another jurisdiction, he ended up getting 31 years. On our case alone, he got 100 months added to his 23-year sentence. So I've got the photos. I'll pass them around. You can see what we deal with on a regular basis. The other thing I'll say is he was not a Milton resident. And so this is one of the things that we talk about that we deal with all the time, is that we're trying to preserve a way of life here. And our police officers are out there doing a great job. So if you see them, thank them for their tireless efforts and all the things that they're dealing with, because this is not an easy job, believe it or not. And Washington State still ranks as one of the lowest police officers per capita in the entire country. So we want to do everything we can to encourage our young, fine women and men to continue to stay here in the city of Milton and make it the best place to live. So with that, if you say something, see something.
Thank you, Chief. I don't have much. I just wanted to, I've talked to a couple of you already, but as of 6:30 today, all of the council's email has been changed from cityofmilton.net to miltonwa.gov. So it's possible that the system will log you out and force you to log back in again. Use the new email address at miltonwa.gov. When you sign back in, your password will remain the same. All right, and I see Olav here. If you want to try it before you leave, and there's problems, he can help. So, all right. Seeing that all agenda items have